Hi, everybody. I'm Carolyn, not Jeremy. Hello. Happy to be here. Today, you may have noticed when you walked in, there was some signs and some booths out there, but today is Community Engagement Sunday, and I oversee community engagement here at BlackRock. For those of you who don't know, community engagement is our local outreach here at the church. So what you just saw was a video kind of overviewing all of our local partners that we work with. So these are different organizations, mostly in Bridgeport. There's one in Fairfield. Some kind of have multiple locations, but all local, all definitely in the state of Connecticut, all organizations that we work with and partner on a regular basis. So I would have loved to bring all of our partners here today, but we just don't have time for that. So I brought two representatives from our partners today. That's who joins us here on stage. So first we have Bob Niedermeyer, who's the Director of Urban Impact. A nice round of applause. And then, of course, our very own Laura Shrillo from Hopeline. Very excited to have them both. So we're doing something a little bit different tonight. Instead of a regular sermon, I'm going to do an interview with these guys. How does that sound? So again, these are just two of our 8 partners, so you'll get to learn about 2 of the organizations. But if you're curious about any of the other ones, you can flip through your brochure and read about some of our other ones as well. But without further ado, why don't you guys tell us a little bit about the organization that you work with and the population that you work with?
Sure. So my name is Bob Niedermeyer. I'm the executive director for Urban Impact, and was one of the founders 16 years ago when we started the organization. And the community we serve is on the west end of Bridgeport in the PT Barnum apartment community there. And the interesting thing about that area is that it's kind of its own little microcosm, because the community is surrounded by industry on one side, water, 95, and then just kind of the opulence of Fairfield that creeps in. And so it really is its own community that we serve the entirety of it. And so we don't really leach out of it. We stay right there and go very deep within it. And so we serve the kids, K through 12, parents, families, and just kind of bring them the love of Jesus and work with them educationally as well, as we just kind of come around them in a whole bunch of different ways and just kind of help raise them, really.
Yeah, that's great. How about you, Laura?
I'm Laura, and I'm the center director in the Bridgeport Hopeline location. And we actually started as a phone line for people who are considering abortion, a phone helpline. But in 2007, we went medical. So we provide pregnancy tests and ultrasounds and options counseling for women who are undecided about what they want to do with their pregnancy. And for our mothers who do choose life, we provide them with resources and materials for their baby for the first year. And then the other vital part of what we do is what we call recovery care. And that's where people who have had an abortion or a miscarriage or just had a child loss of any kind can come for a free one-on-one like Bible study that we work through with them. So.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. So tell us a little bit more about like what the need looks like. Like if you have any data to share with us or just give us an idea of what the issue is that you're tackling.
Sure. In the community, over 16 years, we've really kind of seen the demographic change a little bit from a lot of single moms raising kids. And when we first got there, we would ask the community, what is it that you need? And they said, we just need the kids to be busy, off the streets, mentoring. There weren't a lot of dads around in families. So we started the mentoring program. And over time, we recognized the need for education, because the common thread that has changed, even though demographics have changed, is that hope. We know that the hope that can bring us to any place we want to go is the hope we have in Jesus. And so by instilling that by preaching that, and by kind of bringing a hope into the lives of all the kids and families, we share the vision of what they can do, and they can do anything. We put your mind to anything, you can do it. And so that's what we're there to do, is to kind of coach them and to really champion them on in their lives.
Yeah, at Hopeline, the need is really like compassionate care and just being able to be a space where someone can feel safe to come in and discuss their options. Because a lot of the women who walk through Hopeline's doors, it's overwhelming, especially when it's an unplanned pregnancy. and all they see are barriers to having a child. And so we want to be a place to, if we don't provide it, we can also point them to other organizations that they can take advantage of, like if they're having worries about housing. We just have all those kinds of resources to kind of take away those barriers. The need is in our community, but it's also in our churches, because there's new study that 1 in 4 women who were attending a church at the time that they did decide to have an abortion. So it's not just people like out in the community, it's also people here.
Yeah, that's great. And I love, you're obviously a pro-life organization, but I love that you're removing those barriers to also give women the choice to choose life, because so many women feel like they have no choice. So that's really great. So we'd love to hear a little bit more about you guys personally and sort of how you got involved with both of these orgs. So tell us a little bit about that story and how you became passionate about the work that you do.
I'll go first. Okay, so my involvement, I was like a late bloomer, so I didn't come to know Jesus in my 30s. And so it was 2006, I come to the Lord. 2007, I'm sitting where you guys are, and it's Community Outreach Sunday. And back in the day, we used to have like a parade. You ever go to missions conference where all the missionaries come up? So all of the community partners would come up. And for some reason, there's a lot of guys. They were all really tall. And there was this little 4-foot-nothing woman whose name was Janet. You know Janet?
Yes, I do.
And so Janet, she represented an organization called Nehemiah Commission. And so, new believer, right? Just starting to read the Bible, not starting in the Old Testament, but I've heard of this book of Nehemiah, and my last name is Niedermeyer. I'm not a bright man, but I made the connection that, God's calling me to do something. I don't know what it is, and there was this little short Nehemiah Niedermeyer lady who was mentoring with kids, and so maybe I'll do that. And so I just called her, and she's like, yeah, let's get going. And so she was actually doing ministry in the juvenile detention center. And so she's like, come on. I'm like, whoa, easy. I don't know about that. And she just pushed me beyond my boundaries and my limits, and that was just kind of my start for serving. And then I started going on missions trips, and we went to New Orleans for Hurricane Katrina relief, and that's where Urban Impact started. Because we went down there for the 1 week, and we saw the need in a community. We saw how this organization really wrapped into this community deeply and didn't go outside of it, and really poured into it. And we looked around and said, boy, this looks a lot like Bridgeport. And so I worked down in the city as well. So, I was moved and 2 other people were moved, and we decided that, we got to do this full time when we come home. And so we started Urban Impact when we got back, found the community in the West End, started talking with the leaders there. They told us what the need was for mentoring, and off we went.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about both of your organizations, that you're very close. One's just a little bit this way and one's just a little bit this way. But yeah, the need really is so prevalent so locally. We don't have to go far to find people who are vulnerable and need support.
Yeah.
Okay, how are you, Laura? What's your story?
So I didn't really ever think I would be in a ministry position. I was working at like AAA before this. But I grew up knowing about like the sanctity of life, like our God doesn't do things by accident. It just says it all through the Bible that we were all created with a purpose. And yeah, I think my passion like expanded and grew as I grew in this position. Like just seeing the way that the Lord has touched these women's lives and put Hopeline in their path, like it wasn't an accident. And I get to be a part of that. I get to be the person that like cries with them because they're like going through this hard thing, or just that listening ear that they need. I can't help but fall in love with this job more and more as I do it. So it can be hard, but it's for sure a job that like I'm just feel lucky to even be a little piece of their story and what God's doing for them.
Yeah, that's so cool. And we've kind of touched on it here and there. Obviously, we're talking about meeting very tangible needs for people and meeting people in very difficult situations. And that's all important and sounds good and sounds like something we'd want to be a part of. But But where does faith tie into it all? How does that intersect with the story? And is there a verse or a passage that really motivates you and has inspired you as you do this stuff?
For me, the faith part of it is really, I don't want to say it's not forefront, it's just constant. You know what I mean? Because God shows up in so many ways. And, we go and do the work. And we started as a 100% volunteer organization. Now we have some paid staff. But, we have 100 volunteers who are giving of their time. It's really tied to this one verse in 1 John 3:18, which, it says, let us love not with what we're saying, but with what we're doing, truthfully. And so it's about, what are you doing? Get out there and do something. Because, everybody has a lot of opinions, especially in today's society, right? But it's really those who are actually stepping out in faith and being the love of Christ. One of the questions I get a lot is, how does it that you work? And they're pointing at me down in PT. How does that work? And I'm like, what are you saying? Should I not? And it's like, yeah, but what do you have in common with the kids? How do they relate to you? And the answer that always comes up is, the kids know love. You can identify love. And it's colorless, it's genderless, it's because it's God. And so when you represent your faith in action, God's present. And that's what we see, when things break through.
How about you, Laura?
Yeah. A verse that I've just always had in my life to guide me is Psalm 119, 105. Your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. And it's just my daily reminder that I just need to be in the word, reading the Bible. Because without my daily bread, I don't know that I would be able to pray for people and just hear what God has for them and just be present in their lives and be, sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen when you sit down in a room, and then all of a sudden this random question that you've never asked before pops in your head, and you know that the Holy Spirit is pulling you somewhere in a new direction. And yeah, I just need that daily reminder to be in the Word and read my Bible.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So I'd love to hear a story from you guys. I think so often when we think about service work like this, we think about how we're going to help people, which is good and important in our calling as Christians. But so often when we go out to help people, we end up being blessed tenfold in return, and we grow and become more Christ-like in the process. So I'd love to hear a story or something like that from you guys about maybe a time that you were impacted by one of your clients or one of the people that have come into your organization.
So, I again, late bloomer, came to the Lord, never had kids of my own, right? And was divorced. And as I was going through that process, right, I heard from God, and he said to me, don't worry about your life. I will take care of it. Focus on me. And what he said was, you don't need to be married to me, right? You don't need children around you. And at that point, we already had Urban Impact started. He goes, look at all the children that are around you. Those are the ones that you should care for. Care for the orphans and the widows, right? That's what he says. And so for me, it was very clear that my path in this role was something where I'm, just caring for kids. And not all of them, but, kind of overseeing and interacting here and there. And so God did bring me a wife, and I've been married now 12 years. And she has 2 grown adults and children. And but I've never had my own kids, and that's fine. It's cool. And yet, through all of this stuff that we're doing with the mentoring and stuff like that, my wife and I, we work together in the high school ministry, and there's so many times when God gives me that love from the child that is what a parent would experience, And I remember driving on the road one time, and there's 3 girls in the back. My wife's over there, and we're taking them to whatever event. And you know that song Royals that was, a few years back, and it was on, and we're all jamming to it, and we're just, and it's kind of like a deeper song. And there was a girl behind me, and I have a Jeep, so it's kind of tight in the back seat. And she was like right behind me, and she was singing, and the way that she was singing was so soulful and so beautiful. I'm just crying. Like, that's the proudness that a dad must feel for their daughter. And that was a gift that I got, and I'm singing off key in the front too. But it was just those moments where I get to be so proud of these kids that God's gifted me to serve. And so that's happens all the time. So it was one of the moments.
Yeah, I love that. You have many children. How about you, Laura?
Yeah. Probably my first patient that I sat in the room alone without, like Adrian, my boss, as a guide, was an undecided patient. And I walk in the room and I tell her, the test did come back positive. And she just starts like crying. And we sat there for, I think, like 10 minutes before she could start like talking. And in my mind, I was like, oh man, in all the other ones, this has not happened before. But it's just sitting in that and like crying with her. But also, she just shared that, she had never imagined that she would be raising a kid without her mom. Her mom had just passed away like less than a year before this. And so she just felt overwhelmed and underprepared, and like she didn't have the support that she needed. But as we spoke, and she shared more about her mother and the things she loved about her mother, she kind of like the tears subsided. And, and as we were wrapping up, I was able to pray over her. And it just like impacted me that she was very undecided about if she wanted to keep the child or not. And and she sends me little pictures now of this baby that might not have been here if she didn't have somebody to just like unload. That was a third party that didn't know her, but could just be there to support her in her fears and her worries, but speak life over her. Yeah.
So beautiful, both of your stories. I loved both of those a lot. I got one more question for you. So I'd love to have you guys share. This is great that you guys do this work, but why should we get involved? Why should the people in this room not just get excited about hearing your stories, but why should they get involved and make their own memories doing stuff like this?
So when we first started Urban Impact, we went down there, and it was very interesting because there's three of us, and we're like, oh, we know what we're going to do. And God's hand was like clear, like, no, you're not going to do that. And we're like, oh, we'll do this. He's like, no. And it was like just guiding us. When we look back, we watched he was guiding us. And so it was 2008 when we started. If you guys remember, there's this like little recession back then, right? And so everything was locked down, and so we needed to start this mentoring program. And so we said, okay, let's figure it out. And I was talking to, now my spiritual mom, 4'0", Janet, and I'm like, we're going to do this. And she goes, you know what? You might want to talk with these people. They had something going on down there, and I don't know where they're at. So I met with the people, and I said, hey, what do you guys do? And they said, well, we do this mentoring program in the school, but we don't do it anymore because, we were kind of illegal. And I'm like, what do you mean illegal? And they said, well, we were just going into the school, and when the recession happened, they closed the doors, there's no after-school programming anymore, and they showed up, and they knocked on the door, and the custodian's like, who are you? And they're like, well, we're primetime. And they're like, yeah, but there's no after-school night rec. And they said, yeah, we're not that. I'm like, well, what are you? And they said, well, we do the mentoring. Yeah, but there's no, it was all this confusion. And they said, well, do you have a permit? No. Well, do you have permission to be here? No. And so they were just out of business. So I'm talking to them. They're telling me the business, this thing. I said, what do you need? Well, we need a budget. We got that. We need a 501c. We got that. We need permitting. I'll get you that. So we're like, who are you people? Like, what are you? You just go into schools and start preaching? And they said, oh, we're from this group from Black Rock Church Sanctuary. And I'm like, wait a minute. We're from Black Rock Church, the morning stuff. And it was funny. It was a group from Sanctuary who was running this back in the day. And so, the whole idea is, it's community outreach. You guys should be serving in the world somehow, somewhere. There's all kinds of opportunities out there. And it's scary to do. It's kind of uncomfortable. I don't know if I can do it or whatever. If you have love in your heart for Jesus, you can. And so, we're volunteer-led, as far as how we, serve the kids. Volunteers come in during the nights after work. We have things during the day. We have basketball. We have education. We have Bible lessons. There's something for everybody. I said we need people to cook meals. So there's opportunity to serve and give of your time. And, that's what we have. A lot of people don't know how to serve or where to serve, so they don't serve. And so we try to make that easy, and just go to different churches and say, hey, you want to serve? Come on with us.
That's great. I love that story too. So many good stories.
Yeah. Well, Hopeline is open 9 to 4 Monday through Friday, and we are also, if I don't have volunteers, I can't have appointments and stuff. So, always a good way to get involved. But that's not always doable. So definitely the biggest thing is prayer. But even things like a diaper drive, buying diapers, because we promise these women materials to help lighten that financial load. And so, by bringing stuff to a diaper drive, you're helping our moms. But I don't know. It's definitely prayer is the biggest thing, because we're doing this kingdom work, but also you guys are the ones who are in the community. And so you'll know people potentially, or you'll have a friend of a friend, and you can be that person that refers them to Hopeline. And you can be that person who the Lord put in their path to direct them and change the course of their life. So
that's great. And while we have you up here, Laura, I have a bonus question for you. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Bonus question.
So you will be able to answer it.
Okay.
So just while we're talking to Hopeline, I feel like I'll talk about ways to serve with Hopeline and stuff like that. You're mentioning ways to serve. But I know there's also a retreat coming up.
Yes.
It's not really serving with Hopeline, but it's another way to get involved with Hopeline. So maybe you could just share a little bit about that.
Yeah, we are having, because as I said, we have that recovery care piece. And so the first weekend of October, we're having a time to heal is the Bible study that they're going to be going through. And so that's for anybody who has had a miscarriage or lost a child. It's going to be away in Chatham, Mass. And it's going to be pretty cool. And they do need volunteers if you would love to give your weekend to help kind of facilitate and because they're going to be cooking meals and stuff like that. That is another way to get involved.
That's great. Love it. Well, will you guys join me in just thanking these guys for being here and sharing a little bit with us tonight? I do have one more video I want to show with you. I apologize in advance. It's a video of me, so you're getting a lot of me tonight. I'm sorry. But I have one more video for you guys, and then I have a few more things to share. In Micah 6:8, we read, "He has shown you what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." Act, love, walk. Following Christ is not passive. Justice, mercy, humility. Our faith calls us outward to others. But our world keeps us separated. It's difficult to connect with those around us when our phones keep us looking down and our highways take us right over the neighborhoods with the biggest needs. Community engagement exists to help break down some of these barriers and make it easy for us to all live out our calling to love our neighbors. Every month with a fifth Sunday, we host a collection for one of our local partners. We might collect food, clothing, toiletries, diapers, or school supplies for you to drop off on your way into church. All of these items will be distributed through our partners into the hands of our neighbors in need. On the second Saturday of every month, we have a service project set up for you to join in on. We receive referrals from the town of Fairfield and the city of Bridgeport about people in need. We also work with our partners and other local organizations on projects and events that need extra hands. We might be pulling weeds for a local widow or painting the walls at a nonprofit. We have all of the details covered. All you need to do is show up and make sure to bring your whole family.
You could also join one of our engagement teams. These are teams from BlackRock that serve monthly in a relational setting with one of our partners. For example, you could join our cooking team at Pivot Ministries that cooks and enjoys a meal with the residents once a month. We also have a team that hosts game nights with the residents at Bridgeport Rescue Mission. Lastly, our partners rely on volunteers to keep their programs running smoothly and effectively. They are always looking for people to make a weekly commitment to show up and assist with their programs. This could look like providing tutoring and mentorship to kids at Urban Impact, or organizing the supplies closet for moms facing crisis pregnancies at Hopeline. So, act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly. These are the markers of the life Christ modeled for us and the life He has called us to. Will you join us?
You guys are so nice. So I hope one thing you take away from all of this is that community engagement here at BlackRock is not just about what our church does as an organization to serve the community. This isn't just like your annual update to be like, hey, here's what we did. Today is really a call to action for what are you guys going to do? And so if you could do me a favor, we're going to do this together. We're using our pens a lot tonight. It's very exciting, very interactive. If you guys could pull this out of the brochure you received when you walked in, the sheet that says go and do likewise. And it says go and do likewise. This is a quote taken from the story of the Good Samaritan. So if you remember that story, the Good Samaritan was the one who stopped and helped the injured man on the side of the road and cleaned him up and got him a place to stay and bandaged his wounds and gave him the money he needed to get back on his feet. And at the end of the story, Jesus tells the people that he's talking to go and do likewise. So this is our chance to decide how we are going to go and do likewise. And I really believe that as we look at this handout together, you'll see a lot of empty boxes that are waiting to be checked. And I really believe that there is a box on here for everybody to check. Everybody in this room can check at least one box on the sheet. No matter what stage of life you're in, no matter how busy you are, there is a box for you to check on this sheet. Because my job here, again, is not just to update you on what I've done to engage the community. My job is to make it really easy for you to get involved. Like I talked about in the video, our world keeps us separated. Our world makes it, and our culture makes it difficult to connect with our neighbors. And so my job is to make it a little bit easier for you to connect with your neighbors. But one thing I will mention too is that doesn't mean that it's going to be a breeze. This is going to require some sacrifice from you. This is going to require a little bit of inconvenience from you. I'm going to make it as easy as I can. But to take action and to walk in obedience with the Lord, it will be uncomfortable sometimes. We will have to step outside of our comfort zone sometimes. So as you begin to look at the sheet, we're going to walk through it together. Start to just pray and ask the Lord, all right, Lord, I'm ready to walk in obedience. What is the box that you are calling me to check today? So, of course, I want your contact information, so I know who filled it out. But then after that, you'll see the section on Fifth Sunday donations. So Fifth Sunday donations, we have one coming up in September, and we're collecting diapers for Hopeline, so super easy way to get involved. So at the end of September, on the 29th, we will be collecting diapers, and if you check this box, all it means is that the week leading up to that collection, I'll send you a text to remind you to go shopping. And then the day before, on Saturday, I will send you another text, so only 2 texts, just to remind you to put it in your car, because I had too many people tell me that they went to the store but then left it at home. So I will not let you forget. So that's what that means. If you check that box to receive those texts, I will send you 2 text reminders before all of our Fifth Sunday collections. So this happens a few times a year, every month with the Fifth Sunday. And then next you'll see our second Saturdays. I put some information about what we're doing in the fall. So in the fall, in September, we're going to an urban farm. This is a farm that grows fresh and organic produce for people living in a food desert that don't usually have access to those types of foods. in Bridgeport. And so we're going to go to that farm, do some gardening for them. And then in October, we're going to be meal prepping for our partner, Operation Hope. Operation Hope's actually here tonight, too. They weren't part of the interview, but they are here tonight. So I encourage you to meet Operation Hope. Operation Hope works with the hungry and the homeless to get them housed and to get them fed and to surround them with the wraparound support they need to really get back on their feet. So we're going to fill their fridge and their freezer that day by cooking some meals and stocking them full of food. And then in November, we will be doing leaf pickups. I get referrals from the town of Fairfield it usually ends up being like the elderly and the disabled who can't take care of their yards anymore, and we will go and pick up their leaves for them and clean up their yards for them. And for all of these, I never require a sign up or an RSVP for our second Saturdays. You're welcome to just show up anytime. It's happening these 3 months, but it happens every month. So every second Saturday of every single month, we are here at 9 a.m. And all you have to do is show up here at 9 a.m. If you get my emails and see what we're doing, great. But even if you don't, if you show up in work clothes, you'll be good to go. And we'll all have something planned for you. The reason why it's helpful for you to check a box is because for these 3 happening in the fall, it would be great to have a general idea of how many people are coming. Because if we have a lot of interest in one or multiple of these, I'll set up more sites. We'll do more. The only limiting factor here is the amount of people that want to be involved. But I will set up as many sites as we need for these 3 days in the fall. So those are those 2 opportunities. I have more on the back. I was going to say a few more, but this is a lot more on the back. So if you flip to the back, these opportunities are really, really, really close to my heart. And that's because these are going to be more regular and more ongoing. And what I love about the more regular opportunities is that this is where you're really going to build a relationship with whoever you're serving. And fifth Sundays are great. I love them. I hope you participate. Second Saturdays are great. I love them. I hope you participate. But you're not going to really get to know those that you're serving when you participate in those. These you will. And that is super special for 2 reasons. One, it's going to end up being more impactful for whoever you're serving, right? You're going to have, more of a voice in their life and get to know them and their story and walk alongside them. So it's going to have a bigger impact. But then also, I really, truly believe, and you heard it from the stories here tonight, it's going to have a bigger impact on your life too. And you're going to walk away more Christ-like when you get to hear the stories of the people that you're serving and actually get to know them and enter into their lives. You will walk away more like Jesus as well. So that's why I really love these, the kind of sections they're broken up in. The first 2 are monthly opportunities. Those were featured in the video. We go to Pivot and cook meals. We go to Bridgeport Rescue, and we do a game night, which is really fun. And actually, that team is like so small that we had to cancel the last one because people were on vacation. So we need more people on that team. That's just a little bonus shout out for that one. Yeah, so those are monthly teams. They're BlackRock teams that go out monthly to do those things. And then that middle section is our weekly opportunities. You'll see a few from Urban Impact there. Several of our partners, Urban Impact being one of them, really rely on volunteers to run their programs. They cannot run their programs without volunteers. And truth be told, there aren't a lot of people at Sanctuary. There's very, very few that are serving at Urban Impact. And I think that's a problem. And Hopeline's actually in this section too. So I would really love to see more people from Sanctuary involved in this way. And the stage of life that you guys might find yourself in, if you're a student, you might be free on, a weekday during the day where, a person with a 9-to-5 might not. So Hopeline could be a really good fit for you in that way. But like Bob mentioned, Urban Impact has something almost every night of the week after your work hours. Most of the programs are done by 7, so you still get home at a decent hour. So again, these weekly opportunities are really important because these orgs need volunteers in order for these programs to function. And then that last section is just some more flexible commitments you can kind of sign up for with these ones, how often you would like to commit to. I encourage at least monthly, again, to build those relationships with those you're serving, but they're a little bit more flexible. And this is not all of them. If you read through that brochure in detail, you'll see some other serving opportunities too. So if one of those jumps out at you, that's awesome too. I'd be happy to get get you connected with any of them, but these are kind of some of the highlights that I put on this handout for you. And then lastly, that bottom box you can check is if all of this is, stirring something in you, but you're not ready to check any of the other boxes yet, but you want to be involved somehow, just check that last box to let me know that we should sit down and meet, or you can meet with someone on my team, and we'll talk about your skills and your passions, and I'll answer any questions you have, and we'll find whatever is the best fit for you. In the best place for you to serve. So this is my heart. I would love to chat with you more as we go from here, just about how important it is for us to live out our faith in this way. Of course, we know that, our actions are not what save us. Jesus already paid for that on the cross when he died and rose again. But our action is the lifeblood, the way we serve those around us, and especially what the Bible refers to as the least of these, is really so close to the heart of God and really the lifeblood of our faith. And we're really missing out on like these powerful stories that some of these guys share tonight if we don't get involved. And as Gen Z and millennial, we love to talk the talk. We're passionate, which I think is a beautiful thing about our generation. We're really passionate about these important causes, but I think sometimes we're lacking a little bit with the action. So this is your chance to, tonight, take some action, check a box, commit to something. I know the pens are not working really great, so if your pen's not working, I have better pens out there if you need them. But come turn this into me out there. And with that, I am going to hand it on over back to Mariah and Q. So thank you, guys. I'm going to head out to the booth.